Hi friends, welcome to this latest episode of the Nationalist View. We have with us a very special guest, Dr. Cchavi Vasisht. Dr. Cchavi, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Chhavi Vasisht is an associate fellow with Chintan Research Foundation. She has authored several books and she contributes regularly to several national and international publications. We will be giving a detailed bio of Dr. Chhavi Vasisht with links of her recent work in the description box of this video, so you can access that. And we are going to talk today broadly about Myanmar Bangladesh border issues because it has implications not only for regional security but especially for India and also in a way for global security because it's geostrategically it's a very important location. So, Dr. Chavi, for our viewers who are unfamiliar with the issue, so what exactly is the Bangladesh-Myanmar border crisis and why should India be bothered about it?
Right. Thank you so much, Arun, sir, once again for inviting me. Let me start with the geography of the area. Bangladesh and Myanmar share a border, but it is relatively a small border, 271 kilometer, but is one of the most strategically important regions in the current geopolitics of Asia. It is separated by a very small, narrow river, Naf River, which has often become both a humanitarian corridor as well as a security flashpoint. On the Myanmar side, we have Rakhine State. Rakhine State has been under conflict since the formation of the Arakan Army, but very more recently after the military coup, when they had direct confrontation with the Myanmar military. And the worst humanitarian crisis started in the Rakhine State with the exodus of Rohingyas to Bangladesh. And therefore, in Bangladesh side, we have Cox's Bazar, which now hosts over a millions of Rohingyas. And along this, there is another frontier that is in the Chin State, Paletwa region. Paletwa region bordering both Myanmar and Bangladesh, very near to the Chittagong hill tract. Now, it has direct implications for India. This is the same region through which our Kaladan project passes through. And if we see the politics of this region, as of July, Arakan Army has taken control of 14 out of 17 townships in Rakhine, leaving away Sitwe, Kukfayo, and the Madang island. That is an isolated island. But the other two, Sitwe and Kukfayo, are the most strategically important region of Rakhine. On the other hand, they have also captured Paletwa, which is in the Chin state, and which is important in the current dynamics. Why? Because very recently formed Kumi People Front, they have emerged as the most organized challenge to the Arakan Army. Very recently, 47 Kumi civilians were detained in the Bangladesh side, and they're also known to hire more youths, Kumi youths, within their KPF front. So this is rapidly becoming a militarized zone, to say so, with so much of contested space and conflict. Now, to your question of why should India care or what is in there for India? India shares first and foremost a 1643 land border, and this is a very volatile, this is a very conflict-ridden model within itself. There are problems of insurgency, there are problems of drugs, there are other political issues within the northeastern states. But whatever happens in Myanmar eventually gets spills over in our doorstep. That creates a lot of challenge for India, maybe in terms of arms, maybe in terms of drugs, maybe in terms of harboring of insurgent groups in the other bordering territories. That create a lot of tension. On the other hand, Myanmar is the only land bridge to Southeast Asia. Though India can certainly explore the maritime neighbors and reach out to other Southeast Asian countries, but when we talk of a land border, a land bridge, that only Myanmar provides us. So it certainly becomes necessary. And both are connectivity projects. That is the Kaladan Multimodal Project and the IMT. They pass through this region. So it becomes very important. And if we see what is unfinished in Kaladan project, it's only a small road of boundary that is now pending. The Sitwe port is operational, the inland waterway section is operational, but it is only the Kaletwa Zorinpuri link which is not operational. Why? Also to a larger extent because there is a conflict ongoing. And if the Arakan Army and the KPF conflict continues, it would hold huge challenges for India. And finally, the third important point or concern for India is China's aggressive posture in the Indian Ocean region. We all know that China has already reached to the Arabian Sea through CPEC. It has gained control over that side on the western front. But on the eastern front, it is through Myanmar and Bangladesh that China is making inroads into Bay of Bengal, and a larger agenda is to control or encircle the Indian Ocean region. So for India, there is a lot of strategic and military concerns that comes to our eastern frontier.
So how do you see this situation? Has it evolved from a humanitarian crisis into a geopolitical contest, especially with the involvement of China? Or does it still remain, kind of a more of a humanitarian crisis? Or is it more of a geopolitical contest?
I think humanitarian, certainly, to a larger extent, if we see the effect of this conflict on the people, it is immense. We see a number of people who wants to migrate out of that region because it is so contested. We see every day some or the other conflict which is heightened, or a airstrike attack which is there, or a confrontation between either a military or Arakan Army or KPF or Arakan Army. So of course nobody can thrive in such a scenario. It is a humanitarian concern, definitely. That is one side of the story. But if we see it from a geopolitical lens, it is a contestation here. Especially, let's highlight what China's aims and ambitions are. I just said that in the Arabian Sea it has reached out already. It is in the Bay of Bengal that it is reaching out. So for us, for India, we see this geopolitical competition in terms of how China is making inroads to the Bay of Bengal region. Now, the latest push that we see even from the military side, Myanmar military side. Earlier, they were more concerned with taking the control of the central Myanmar region, and there were continuous fights with the bordering ethnic armed organizations. The last 10-15 days, what we are witnessing is a huge heightened conflict between the Arakan Army and the military because of the airstrikes that they did in the last week of June. So that has become, a main contested area for the Arakan Army, for the western region of Myanmar, which I would say for China then becomes, a fertile ground. Because any contested space, China feels that it can manipulate both the ethnic armed organizations, that is, it is already negotiating with the Arakan Army, and also the military junta, because of course it supports the BRI projects, gives its arms, gives its other supplies. So for China, this is a contestation where both this contested battle space, there is no clear resolution, and China gets a stay. In this backdrop of all this contested space, China has introduced this corridor diplomacy. Already CMEC, that is the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, was in place through the region which is connecting the Kukfayu. Now with the Bangladesh-Myanmar-China Economic Corridor, it is trying to get control of the 2 ports of Bangladesh. But I'll come to that later on. Let us go back to what China is doing. China, it is not a recent phenomena to be engaging with the ethnic armed organizations and the military. It is a phenomenon that goes back to decades, especially since the 1980s when China started meddling in the internal affairs of Myanmar. It is going back to those times. In the present time, this has become all the more, intrusive in terms of, even we see the MNDA ceasefire was mediated by China in a way. So we see that in China's recent engagements, the April visit to Naypyidaw, then Bangladesh PM's visit to Beijing, where this corridor was formally proposed. Now, this corridor is also not something new. It is just a revival of a BCIM corridor, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar corridor, where India had withdrawn from it because of its own strategic concerns over the BRI projects. So it is just trying to reinvigorate that corridor where India had already withdrawn. So what it is doing, it is trying to establish a corridor which alienates India and is not involving India, even though I must mention that it has said that it welcomes the other countries to be part of this project. India would certainly not be part of this project. So this entire landscape of Bangladesh, Myanmar the Nav River, having all this contested ground is a fertile ground for Myanmar, for China to be part of this contestation, and that's why it is making inroads into that area. Yes.
So what is the China's largest strategic game? Is it not? Is it pure economy? Is it a larger strategic game? What kind of leverage China is getting through this, Bangladesh-China-Myanmar economic corridor? Is it like going beyond the economics of the economic corridor? So what is the largest strategic handle which China is getting? And I want to add basically, so, and what is India doing about it? How do you see because you meet, a lot of kind of experts from the Indian side also, and you often go to conferences where officials from the Indian establishment also come. So, do you actually see that India is reacting fast enough? And is India only reacting, or is India also doing proactively something? So, it's a larger question, but first part is basically the strategic handle which China is getting, and what are we doing about it?
Certainly, to understand China's larger game or objective, we have to understand what is the Malacca dilemma. Almost 80% of China's energy imports transits through Strait of Malacca. Its entire aim to establish a Cchavi port and the gas pipeline, oil and gas pipeline through Myanmar region, so that they could bypass that Malacca Strait or the Malacca problem. Bangladesh corridor is nothing but an extension of that. As I said, the two ports that it will get access to, that is the Chittagong port and the Mongla port, this will give China a direct presence in the Bay of Bengal region. Already through the Cchavi port, it has. But this will give a more closer presence to China in the Bay of Bengal. It is also important to put it in perspective that China is known to use these civilian or infrastructure corridors for military purposes, dual purposes also. We have already seen that in Myanmar, in the Cchavi region, especially the area below it, there are submarines which are already located in that area. Whenever there is any activity, Coco Island, there is a radar system, and the presence of Chinese in the Coco Islands is something which was reported long back. So we know already that China has, the larger aim of China is to completely gain access to the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, the larger Indian Ocean region, and to ensure that it has a main presence in terms of military aspects also. So that, I would say, is the larger game of China. But also what makes it interesting is that how China is managing this fragmentation. As I told you, this is not a new game for China. Since years, it has been playing both the ethnic armed organizations and the military in Myanmar. It has been supporting the ethnic armed organizations via training, via arms, via other support, and it has also been supporting the military via the BRI projects and other things. So what it wants in the this Bangladesh-Myanmar region is a reliable partner. And that's why we see that it is interacting and making coordination with the Arakan army as well. And in the Bangladesh side, obviously, they are now having a very strong relationship in terms of getting access to Bangladesh. We have seen multiple projects and MOU signed during PM of Bangladesh visit to China. For India, there is a strategic consequence. This is our eastern frontier. Very directly, our northeast is implicated by it. And for us, it is the maritime concerns also. So it is all terrestrial, maritime, connectivity, all of this comes together. But let us look at the corridor on the first place. Even though this is at a conceptual stage and Bangladesh is still examining it, even if all players agree to do so, this is not going to be implemented in a year or a 2 years' time. Why I say so? Because Bangladesh has put a condition on it. The condition is that until and unless there is stability and peace in the Myanmar side, there is no chance that we can build such a corridor. And we all know that in Myanmar, such a stability, such a peace is not going to happen very soon. It is already a very conflicted space. The resistance forces are stronger. They will not, and they themselves have agreed that they are looking for a longer battle. they are not ready to surrender or come to the point that they will give away arms. If the military in Myanmar, the military leaders in Myanmar and the ethnic armed organizations, if they come together, then we can hope for a peace and getting back peace and stability in the region. But that's a far reality right now. It's not nearby. For us, what is concerning is how China has made the inroads, the Gukfire port and now the Bangladesh ports. This is what is important for us. Because, again, as I said, it is well known that China could potentially use this commercial infrastructure for the dual military use and for its maritime presence in the Bay of Bengal region. To the larger question of what India is doing, or what has India been reactive or a proactive, I would say, especially for the maritime concerns in the past few years, India has been a proactive player, whether it is its relations with ASEAN. And here I would like to point out how India has been strategically engaging in defense ties. The recent visit of Prime Minister Modi to Indonesia, signing of the deals with Philippines also, and in the past with Vietnam also, what we see is that India is strengthening its ties with the other ASEAN countries. And even with Myanmar, we were the first ones who have hosted President Min Aung Hlaing to India last month, and the relations very clearly put a path ahead that we will negotiate with the military, we will maintain our ties with the military. We are not saying that we are not going to have any relations with the ethnic armed organization. That is a separate landscape. Since 2021 coup, especially, we have made sure that we maintain ties, at least some legitimate functional ties with both sides. So for India, the larger agenda is to ensure stability, peace in the region, to ensure that its northeast states are secured. So border management, security, and connectivity. I would say if India has been addressing this challenge is through these three pillars: ensuring border security, ensuring peace and stability in the region, and ensuring that there is connectivity, because connectivity in the larger landscape is going to help individual country states also, and also strengthen people-to-people ties. So this is all because this all comes together as a one strategy that India has adopted, and we see the implementation of this strategy through multiple platforms. So there's a very broad question, but I've just tried to summarize it into a larger framework.
So we have talking about this over the last few about half an hour. So one thing which is emerging very clearly is that Bangladesh is becoming another arena for this great power competition now. So do you think Bangladesh, if you look at it from the Bangladesh perspective, so is Bangladesh a willing player in terms of becoming a theater for the greater new games, or is Bangladesh a reluctant player? Is Bangladesh trying to avoid it, or is it inevitable given the size of the powers and the influence of the powers who are competing to secure their interests? So, how do you see this? Look at this Bangladesh as a theater of the new great game.
I think the great competition in Bangladesh is already a reality. And a very pertinent point that you just made here is how is Bangladesh going to navigate this challenge, this great competition, whether it will serve its own interest or it will just be absorbed in one of the powers' strategic orbit. I think Bangladesh is now very proactive in the region, especially given its Prime Minister's recent visit to Malaysia and then to China. It is not sitting there in the bay, but it is actually proactively making its decisions. Now, whether those decisions would be helpful or whether it would affect its own security concerns are yet to be seen. Now, in that context, let me bring back the proposal that was made for the corridor. Now, this corridor, which Dhaka is currently examining, this is a very structurally difficult position that Bangladesh is in now. Why I would say so? As the experience has been in other South Asian countries, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is any other country, the Chinese-built infrastructure always brings in a strategic dependence and an economic debt. Classic case is Sri Lanka. On the one side, accepting it without putting any conditions, without understanding its implications, would be not good for Bangladesh. But also rejecting it altogether is also not in a favor of Bangladesh. So it has to balance it. Even currently, it has given a conditioned response, as I said, that let there be peace and stability in Myanmar. But even if that happens, that is going to be a challenge. Now, when we talk of Bangladesh relations with India, see, historically we had very close relations, and I would still stay so that in geopolitics, sometimes there can be a strain in relationships, sometimes the relationships are at their peak. Now, at the present space, if we see, leaders on both sides have assured and have accepted that they are close partners. They are in a framework of collaboration rather than a very transactional cooperation. May it be anchored in security, may it be anchored in our economic cooperation, our natural resources, water, all these things, especially people to people ties, these are all linked. So it's in the long term structural interest that we see that Bangladesh and India are inevitably close partners. And the reality, better it would be that if they root this partnership in a much stronger way, rather than looking at external powers who will come in the region and create a contestation. But if I have to say that these all shared river systems, shared borders, shared cultures, if they are to become the base for any relationship, these are definitely a stronger base, but you have to ensure that economic ties, connectivity, trade are also strengthened. Now it's the time that India Bangladesh should actually look at this renewed partnership in a way that it is beneficial for both sides, not just one side. That would be the larger agenda that Bangladesh also should look for. That in any partnership that it goes for, whether it is with any power, maybe China or India, is it benefiting or is it just becoming a nod in somebody else great power strategy? It is Bangladesh to decide, and I'm sure given the current geopolitics, it is very proactively being present in the region and would serve it.
So that this conversation to the last question. So if you were to advise the Indian government, what are a few things you would advise them to do? Let's say a couple of two or three things which Indian government should be looking at and doing immediately.
Certainly, Arun sir, I've always been writing about it also, and I ensure that every time when especially I write something, I put a conclusion with at least one suggestion in mind that can really be useful. For in India, the message is very clear, slightly uncomfortable also, but very clear that our Act East policy, our neighborhood policy, is facing a very serious implementation challenge. Let us start looking at the connectivity concerns. Kaladan multimodal project, though was supposed to be implemented long back, it's conceptualized in 2008-9, and now we are sitting at 2026. Again, they are saying that one more year, it will be operational by 2027. The first and foremost thing that should be seen as priority is to build or complete that road project, the Paletwa Zornpuri link. That is missing. If they are able to connect that, then the entire project is implementable. I mean, it is done then. Why not keep that as a priority? Even the 23rd national level meeting that was held in July 7th, they have also re-emphasized the importance of Kaladan. We all know the importance of Kaladan. So what is it that is, that is stopping it from not being implemented? Have a very dedicated project completion authority, a dedicated timeline for it. We have been missing our deadlines for long, and every delay, cost of every delay, it is not just financial. Now, given the geopolitical contextation of this region, there is far more the concerns for us to complete it rather than leave it to any major other power. The second step for in this direction only for connectivity as well as border security, I would say so, is to engage with Arakan Army. Arakan Army in the Myanmar region has come out as a governance authority, has taken control of 14 townships, and it has said that by the year end, it will take control of the other three townships also. Though there is a present contestation between the military and the Arakan Army, but I feel that this is one area or one ethnic armed organizations where we should proactively engage and look for our interests, especially the border security and the connectivity project. There are other ethnic armed organizations along this Myanmar-India corridor, especially when we talk of Kachins, when we talk of Sagain, when we talk of Chins. These are all bordering our regions. We need to ensure that one, there is a safety and security across these border regions, and second, there is a healthy maintenance of ties. There's no conflict in the region. This is not to negate the fact that India maintains very strong ties with the military and will continue to do so. We have to understand that the military regime, we have always engaged. There was a very short period, 1960s to 1990s, when India did not engage proactively with the military junta in power. But post the 1990s, we have realized that, for our Northeast security, for our security concerns, we need to maintain ties. So since then, we have been maintaining ties. In the present architecture, we just realized that now there are multiple stakeholders. And when you talk of multiple stakeholders, you need to engage with all. So second strategy would be this. And when you talk of Bangladesh, as I just stated previously, we should not look at Bangladesh just, as a bilateral country relationship that we need to maintain. One, there is a security perspective to it, but that should be embedded in the broader strengthened India-Bangladesh ties, which are grounded in strong connectivity, which is grounded in strong trade, water, all these things that binds the people together. So ensuring that our ties are reinvigorated, are re-established with the new government in Bangladesh, we have to make sure that the third part here does not contest this region. India, Bangladesh have maintained their ties for a very long time. Rather, I would say one needs to go into the history to see how strong these ties were. So why this gap now? So even if this is a perception, I think it is important to address this perception, to address this narrative, ensure that there is greater connectivity between the both sides, and that is across economic and people-to-people ties. So yes, I mean, if I have to give advice, these would be the 2-3 steps that I would say. This entire region, maritime, terrestrial connectivity, this is the biggest challenge. Myanmar mein civil war, Bangladesh realignments, China's geopolitical ambitions, and within that, India's northeast, which is the biggest security concern for India. Connectivity also and biggest security concern, and therefore now the response is a unified action that is required across diplomacy, across connectivity, across security. Then we would be able to secure our long-term, economic and security interests. So that I think should be the larger agenda for us.
So thank you, Dr. Cchavi Vasisht, for decoding all these complex issues, and we hope to host you back soon again. And thank you so much. And to our viewers again, the detailed description of Dr. Cchavi Vasisht's work and her detailed bio. So link with links of her recent work. So it will be there in the description box. Do access that and do share your feedback also. And thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with another conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.